Alright, here we go, guys. So we had our first real good duel of the day today. I was doing my Eldlich stun deck. That just entails all this right here, this gloriousness. Now, here I had Curse of Darkness, which is excellent for this deck because I utilize high attack power and easily summonable monsters, which I also have access to monsters that give me extra life points when I deal damage. And then I also have monsters that make it so that I can gain life points equal to the high attack monsters that I have that can be special summoned, like Eldlich the Mad Golden Lead. And with Eldlich the Mad Golden Lead, I can use this alongside alongside Vampire Fraulein, which I can't show you that right now, but alongside Vampire Fraulein and what's his name? The zombie vampire. With both of them, I can nab opponents' monsters alongside Eldlich, and so that just makes for a powerful deck. When you can also limit how many times per turn your opponent can use spell cards or send monsters, or send cards to the grave. So that's pretty cool. I'm not accustomed to fighting against Witchcrafter, so I will admit, when I started this duel, I had to go look through the related cards to Witchcrafters to see what they were all about. And then I saw they were all about banishing, so I was like, cool, I'll throw this down, even though I didn't get a chance to use it, because I had a pretty good hand at this time around. So, there was that as well. This is another excellent card for a stalling deck, and I never see this card in a floodgate deck. So what I like about this card is that A, it cannot be destroyed by battle after it's been set face up. B, it has only 1 star, so it's great for adding that extra umph if you are doing like a ritual summon or like a synchro summon or something like that. This card could come in handy because it's only got 1 star. And then this is also great for going into what's his name? Can't think of the name right now. Relinquished Anima is great for this card because you can use that level 1 to go into Relinquished Anima, and then bing bada boom. I think that's how Relinquished Anima works. I want to say that's how it works. Anyways, you get 500 life points at the end of each end phase. So by the time it comes back to your turn, every turn you basically have 1,000 more life points, and that is fantastic. It's great, and it's also good for absorbing that first initial attack because it can be face down. That initial attack gets stopped. That's fantastic. Now, some of the problems with using a card like this is that it has no natural defense against being targeted by card effects or card effect destruction or monster destruction as far as like effects. It has no natural defense against cards that do piercing battle damage. So I have lost many duels when I had the advantage to a Blue Eyes Max Chaos Dragon. I'm pretty sure I butchered that name. Blue Eyes Max Power Dragon. Blue Eyes Max Chaos. Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon? What the fuck is it? Anyways, you know what monster I'm talking about. I've lost many duels to that monster because it does double piercing battle damage and it has 4,000 attack. And attacking into a 400 attack monster, this monster has like what, only 20% of the attack, defense that has or something. Anyways, Armajar is good. I love how this guy is just like, oh, This Algo Mazera, an excellent, excellent zombie monster. He is just a must-have in just about any zombie deck because with the zombies, with how accessible zombies are from the deck to the field or to your hand, Algo Mazera is just a must-have. I mean, like, even with this deck, I have access to 2 copies of Avenged Savior, which can search him out, anytime. So, Algo Mazera has so many uses. I'll go over a few really quick before continuing. So with Algo Mazera, one of the beautiful things about him is that you can banish him to then protect all of your zombie monsters from being destroyed by battle and card effect destruction. Now, what's also interesting about this is that afterwards he can special summon himself from the banished area, but he has to banish himself from the hand or from the graveyard, not from the deck or from like the field. You know, has to be from the hand or from the graveyard. Now, what's cool is that you can trigger this special summoning with other monsters that can banish targeted monsters in the graveyard or from the hand, in which case you can force him to be special summoned to use him as fodder to go into more powerful extra deck monsters, or to go into a powerful tribute summonable monster. But what you can also do with Algo Mazera, right, is you can purposely use a monster like Avenged Savior to attack into a more powerful monster, or a monster that has equal attack to Avenged Savior, and then use Algo Mazera as the target for Avenged Savior to send to the graveyard. And then when you do that, your opponent's monster will lose 1600 attack because they'll lose 200 for every level that Algo has because of Avenged Savior's effect. So, your opponent's monster will lose 1600 attack. But you'll also protect your monsters from destruction if there's some effect like Mara Jade the Ice Blade Dragon, where if you destroy it, if it's removed from the field, then during the end phase it wipes your opponent's board of all their monsters, destroys them. With this trick, you could use something like Avenged Savior, attack into Mirror Jade the Ice Blade Dragon. When you do, send Algo Mazera, Ice Blade Dragon will lose 1600 attack. Ice Blade Dragon has 3000 attack, if I remember correctly. So, that will bring it down to, what, 1400? So, once it's down to 1400, then you'll be able to topple it because Avenged Savior has 1600 attack. So, you'll be able to topple that. Once you destroy Mirror Jade the Ice Blade Dragon, it's going to have the effect that it will wipe all your monsters from the field as a destruction, as a blanket, you know, torrential tribute type deal. So when that happens for your monsters, you then can trigger the Algo Mazera that you have in the grave to counter that, and it'll special summon itself after protecting your monsters from that destruction effect, and then they would have wasted it. And then you can take it a step further even and have a vampire Fraulein on the field. Huh, that was very strange. I'm just talking and I had the strangest sensation that someone or something in white just walked up towards my left and then made a beeline to the right and missed me. And it was so interestingly odd because I saw it and I felt it like someone was walking into my field of like electricity of energy. It could have just been me in the moment being passionate about Yu-Gi-Oh, but I don't know. So, anyways, what was I saying? Let me see. Vampire Fraulein. So you can take it a step further and use Vampire Fraulein to increase the attack of your Avenged Savior by up to 3000 attack. which would then cost you 3,000 life points, but you'd also deal 3,000 extra damage to your opponent. So essentially, it would be like you're increasing your Avenged Savior's attack by 4,600 versus just 3,000, because they're also decreasing the other monster's attack by the level of the zombie monster sent times 200. So you gotta keep that in mind too. I oftentimes will send Eldlich, the Golden Lord, and then use 3 copies, if I have it available, 3 copies of Vampire Fraulein, because that is not a once per turn, a hard once per turn effect. It's not. It's a soft. It's not even a soft once per turn. It's a once per battle effect. But with that, because it's once per battle and it's not limited to 1 copy per turn, then you can do up to 9,000 extra attack or defense for your zombie monster during each battle that that zombie monster is in, given that you have the life points to do that. And then with a monster like this right here, you'll make it so that all the damage you do with monsters that are in these pointed 2 areas will also gain you life points. So it's pretty interesting. So normally at this point, what I would do is normally before I ended my turn, what I would normally do here is I would normally go right into Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max. Fucking love that name. And gonna name my next dog that. Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max. Where you at, boy? Um, his name's Max. Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max. That's his name. Yeah, fucking hell. Um, normally I go right into him before ending my turn, but because of which card was it that made that happen? Not that one either. I don't know which card it was that made that the case. Was it? Oh, it probably was this one. Eldlich of the Scarlet Sanguine. So, what turn was that? That was, okay, yeah, so because so this is important. I had to go back and make sure, because I didn't know which card it was during the duel. Which, shame on me for that. I love Eldlich. I should have known it was this one. That makes perfect sense. But, if you are playing Eldlich, and you're doing Eldritch stun like I am, and you get to this iconic point that every Eldritch player should know. If you're an Eldritch player, you should know about this combo, because this combo means you have just attacked into your opponent with all of this damage, and you are about to go into Super Dreadnought Cannon Gustav Max, a Rail Cannon Gustav Max, at which point you are going to deal that extra, very sweet and succulent 2000 damage to your opponent that most likely should, if the game went even slightly in your way, they should have 2000 or less life points at this point in the battle. And it should be like turn like 3 to 5, 3 to 6 at that point for Eldlich, realistically. Because, floodgates and all. And with the way I have my floodgates set up, it's designed to keep my life points up while keeping my opponent's life points down, so that I can then also deal this high damage and then also finish it off with high effect damage to finish my opponent as fast as possible. But with Eldlich, if you happen to use this card right here, or cards like it, and use these in that turn that you want to also special summon Gustav Max, what you have to remember is that with a lot of those cards that Eldritch uses and cards like it and other, what's the name I'm looking for? The name I'm looking for is, I can't think of the word right now. But in other decks that have cards like that do special summoning, a lot of the time they will have this itty bitty clause that most people don't read sometimes that are like newer players. And it will catch experienced players off guard like myself too sometimes. Um, it'll say that little clause that says, for the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters except zombie monsters. Now, I do forget, I don't think that Zombie World being on the field would change that effect. I don't think that you could have Zombie World in the field and then just special summon any monster because it would be a zombie monster at that point. I think because it's not a zombie monster in the hand, or in the deck, or in the banished area before you summon it, then it doesn't count as a zombie monster, therefore you can't special summon it if you've already used this and zombie world is on the field. But if zombie world is in the field and you have a card like Soul of Rubbing Bone Towers, and you your opponent or yourself special summon a monster that is not a zombie, but zombie world is in the field, when that monster hits the field, the moment it hits the field, it is at that moment a zombie monster because of Zombie World, which means that congratulations, you special summoned a zombie monster. Now two cards are going to go to the graveyard from the top of your opponent's deck because of Solo Zubbing Bone Tower. So those little tiny things are very important for like Yu-Gi-Oh! Dueling in like the professional way. Knowing all those little tiny details can... Ooh, almost dropped my controller. Knowing those details can mean the difference between winning and losing an entire match. So definitely keep those little things in mind. So there was a couple of things I could have done here besides what I did. One thing you can do in this situation is if you needed to, and let's say you didn't have access to Gustav Rail Max, right? Let's say you didn't have this in your deck or nothing in your extra deck that could deal damage. But let's also say this monster was immune to battle destruction, so it couldn't be destroyed. And you didn't have an effect that could destroy it, right? What you could do with this scenario is you could just use Eldlich, the Golden Lord, the Mad Golden Lad, activate his effect, send Eldlich, the Golden Lord, to the graveyard, target this monster, take control of it, and bring it over here anywhere. Then use Eldlich, get rid of one of these cards you don't need because you're about to win the duel, unless they've got something up here to stop your next moves. Then, when that happens, or in their graveyard or banished area, But then once that happens and you got Eldlich in the grave, you get rid of one of these cards, you bring your Eldlich back, then you will have their monster on your side of the field. You have your Eldlich the Mad Golden Lad at 3800 attack, and you will have your Eldlich the Golden Lord at 3500 attack. It'll be absolutely beautiful. But you can also go into Gustav Real Max at this point and just forego attacking him or them entirely just so that you can deal that, sweet effect damage and have to not deal with, oh, if you attack, oh, then you can activate this. None of that. Just activate the effect. Have it be done and over with. Thomas, it was a great duel.